get started. I think.
I thought we were finished.
We're finished and we're done. Yeah, well, thanks everyone for joining and have a great night. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this evening for our live Q&A on Tarmac Rally 101. For a lot of you that probably don't know myself, I'm Rochelle Sterling, the founder of Race Chicks Motorsport. And for those that aren't aware of Race Chicks Motorsport or hearing it for the first time, we exist to help increase female participation in motorsport. And the way we do that is via a few different initiatives. And one of those is the live Q&As, the educational live Q&As like we're doing tonight. And they're open to the fellas as well. The idea is that, you know, we hold these educational Q&As on all different various aspects on motorsport. So we've done sponsorship, we've done sports nutrition specific to motorsport. We've done injury prevention and recovery, and tonight we're doing Tarmac Rally, and our next one is on media in motorsport, so everyone is welcome to join that as well in 3 weeks' time. Other things that we do, just this week we've launched and started Race Chicks Race School, which is very exciting. We held our first 101 course this week, which is for beginners, for getting women into motorsport. We have 3 different levels of courses. We have beginner, intermediate and advanced. And then at the core of everything that we do is a networking community and connecting women across all motorsport genres, across all levels of involvement across Australia. So that is whether they're competitors, whether they're, you know, drivers or navigators, officials, volunteers, enthusiasts, you know, work in the industry. It's about bringing everyone together and being able to connect them. So we have a private Facebook group for that. So for the race chicks that are on tonight, or if anyone knows of any other race chicks, jump onto Facebook, which is Race Chicks Networking Community, and you can join the conversation there. We also have a stylish lifestyle apparel for women in motorsport, and we hold networking events as well. We did start doing face-to-face and then stupid COVID hit. So then we were doing virtual events, and then we should be, hopefully start doing our face-to-face networking events as well. So they're the different initiatives that we run as Race Chicks Motorsport. So, and then tonight we're very lucky, and we will welcome Pam and Brittany from Australian Tarmac Rally. So thank you, ladies, or chicks as I call everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and talking to us about everything Tarmac Rally.
You're welcome.
So what I'll do is if anyone's got any questions, I'll get you to just pop them in the chat, and then I will attempt to monitor that as we go. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions as we go along. So this is, you know, a live Q&A for everyone to learn everything that you wanted to know about Tarmac Rallying. So ask your burning questions, but we'll get started with yourselves. So ladies, how did you both get involved?
Don't make that too hard. Don't make
that easy questions only. So Pam and Brittany, how did you guys get started in Tarmac Rally?
Do you want me to take this one first? All right, I'll take this one first. Jace, my husband, and I started participating in Tour in 2014. We were down participating in Tour in Tasmania at Targa Tas, and it was great fun. So we got the bug then, were fortunate enough to be dear friends with Brittany and her family, who were heavily involved in Tarmac Rally as well, even at that stage, and got to come on board and do a bit more. So we competed in Adelaide. We managed to do Tour in Northwest, Targa Northwest, and we were also down for Targa Tas. So we certainly got the sting from the competitors' side and enjoyed that very much indeed. And then as things went on, it sort of progressed into we would help out. We did a bit of volunteering. Jason and I would help out. I sort of moved into helping with any of the documentation side, anything I could help with in admin. And that led to a position, a full-time position with Targa Australia in 2017. So I started probably, sort of the full-time employment, but really hitting the ground running 2017 as the competitors manager. So that's where I sort of had a little bit of a taste of the background. I was navigating. I can honestly say I only ever drove one stage in tour. The rest of the time I was nav or ballast, as the case may be sometimes. So that was my experience from that side, and then moved across into the side of actually helping to put on the event. So once we did the Targa Australia side of things, I wrapped up my time there in 2019. Through a variety of circumstances, it just wasn't the right place for me to continue on. So we then, Jason and I, as well as Brittany and her family, moved across to helping out Mountain Motorsports with their championship here in Victoria. So we helped Pete, we were tour leader again and tour sweep, helped out on that side of things. And then Brittany and I were chatting away one day and said we really missed the Tarmac Rally world and all the friends that we'd made. So we approached Pete and had a good old chat and said, look, can we do something here? So end of April, we secured the championship. And as of 1st of May, hit the ground running as an Australian Tarmac Rally. And then literally that's been us till now. So we will get an event on in December, but that's been us till now. So a little bit of a taste from both sides of things. So we also do circuit racing as well, my husband and I, and our eldest son too. And we have race cars that we use for circuit as well. So a little bit of a mix across. I can honestly say I haven't tried gravel, but a bit of track and a fair bit of the Tarmac Rally side too. So that's me.
Awesome.
I suppose my introduction to motorsport probably starts a bit of a younger time. I remember I went to the Mount Buller Sprint in 2006. I was a whole 12 years old. And I remember saying to Pete Washington then, oh, who's that over there? And he was like, oh, that's Grant Denyer. Do you want to go meet him? He goes, oh, you'll probably be taller than him already. And so that's sort of where I first experienced motorsport. I grew up around it with my parents being involved. And then 2014, I got to experience my first Targa Tasmania. I wasn't old enough to go to the dinner that they had at the end at Hobart. So mum and dad sit me and my little sister in front of the TV watching Girls of the Playboy Mansion. And then 4 years later, I was lucky enough to start working for Targa. It got acquired as a family business from a international American company that sort of had just lost the passion for putting time and effort into it. So we acquired that in 2014, and then from there I started working. At that time we only had 3 full-time staff, so trying to run Targa Tasmania, Targa High Country. We still had Targa Rest Point at that time. And so it sort of started with then, and then over 6 years, I sort of did every aspect of that event and all the other events around it, including getting Great Barrier Reef off the ground, which obviously was a massive success. I've never been around an event that had to get brought off the ground. Targa Tas, when I was there, did its 25th year. Targa High Country, 10th anniversary, all of that. And so I was with Targa Australia until pretty much a similar time last year to Pam. I finished up in September last year. Similar thing. It just sort of was going in a direction that we didn't agree that it should go in. People that acquired it don't very much have an interest in motorsport, and the way they were treating their customers, me and Pam weren't putting up with. So it went from a family business to a corporate entity that became very swallowed up in the glitz and the glamour. It became a very sexist company to work for. So we didn't have to put up with it, so we left. And then, as Pam said, probably like 2-3 months later, the conversation started coming up. Pete and my dad are very close friends and have been for a long time. He's sponsored him since Mount Buller Sprint days. And then, yeah, so probably it started going, and Pam did have to push me a little bit because leaving Targa did leave a bad taste in my mouth, I suppose. It was a very hard time to have to get over, and thinking about going back into that world, I had to prepare myself. Obviously being young as well, and now being women in motorsport, there's a lot of things that get thrown your way that people try and take an advantage of. So I think starting at Targa when I was freshly 18 probably helped, and dealing with every aspect from governments to councils to all the officials,
all the hard stuff,
all that sort of stuff, and not knowing what event management was. I mean, I finished school not knowing what I wanted to do, so I just went in and was doing accounting for a brake company. So I sort of didn't know what event management was. I didn't know what Targa was. I didn't understand the logistics. And then from there, it just became a moving circus. And so I think going in hard at the start has made it a lot easier. Now you can work out the nuts and bolts. You can see where you have to spend time and focus on to get the benefit, I suppose. So yeah, as of May, we obviously rebranded as Australian Tarmac Rally, and hopefully, as Pam said, December, run an event. So
we can put our money where our mouths are.
Yeah, fantastic. And obviously, you know, you bring all of that wealth of experience to Tarmac Rally to invigorate the events that you've got coming up.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we've been probably around Pete's events for probably the past 2-3 years. Just obviously, you know, once you've got that Tarmac Rally bug and the motorsport bug, you just want to try and get as much as you can. So, you know, there was never any competition or rivalry. We just wanted to, you know, help out and just see. We started seeing where these events could go. What Pete had created was an amazing product. And we just wanted to sort of bring that to the next level. Pete's still helping us as much as he probably doesn't want to. And he's probably listening right now. But he's been an amazing help. And I think he's enjoying it more now that he can pick and choose what he wants to focus on within the event. And he can just rock up to the event. We'll take all the hard stuff off him, all the boring paperwork, and he can just enjoy it, as well as Ursula as well. Like, they did an amazing job to create these events and the name for themselves. And we just hope that we carry it on, and
we're very fortunate.
Make it hang around for a long time, because we're not going anywhere. So.
Wonderful. So tell us a bit more about the event that you've got coming up in December, the Great Tarmac Rally. About that.
Well, that was a funny one in planning. It's normally an October weekend, and our scheduling had it as last weekend, actually. We pushed it out to December when it looked like we weren't going to be able to run with the restrictions in place for COVID. So, and the reception for moving it to December has been absolutely fantastic, I've got to say, which is great. We have taken the opportunity to change the course slightly. So we're rejigging that side of things. We're making it a little bit more exciting on the Saturday and the Sunday. So it's something a bit new. And that just sort of feeds into what we'll talk about anyway, that we're wanting to bring some new life into the course, try and explore some new areas, trying to bring some new events in as well for the next 2021 into 2022 would be ideal. So we're excited about it. Yeah, and we've been fortunate enough too that, as well as the competitors being on board, we've had Vic Roads and the councils working with us. We've been working on COVID plans, etc., etc. So all that seems to be falling into place really well. So it's exciting.
Oh, fantastic. And is that a standalone event? Like, would that go into next year's championship or run as a standalone event?
At this stage, if you want me to take this one, this will be standalone. So this will be our first event and our first 2020 and only 2020 event. We're electing now to run the championship next year from Bor Sprint, which is in February, through to Great Tarmac Rally, which will likely be November for next year. So we'll have the 4 events next year, and that will make up the championship. So this is a standalone. It's just a really good one for everyone to come out to, catch up with friends and have a bit of fun. And then hopefully, you know, we can roll into next year and build on that championship and go from there.
Oh, fantastic. So, you know, well, whoever wins the December event, maybe they could say they've won the title for 2020.
Well, that's right. Well, we could say we're all winners, couldn't we?
That's it. So tell us more about the championship. How's that going to run next year?
I've spoken enough. There you go. You can have a go.
So next year the championship will be different to the past championships, again, because of COVID. Usually it runs to a financial year calendar, whereas next year it'll run to the year-to-year calendar. So it'll consist of Bawbaw in February, Lake Mountain March, Snowy River in September, and then GDR November, December next year. Each round is the same amount of points. So technically you can do 3 rounds and win the championship, but if, say, the person coming second does 4 rounds, you may be able to lose the championship. So we've made it that you can afford to drop a event, but ideally we'd like everyone to do the 4 events.
Just come and do all 4. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I suppose, you know, our championship is backed by AASA. After all, you will have the championship of Australian Tarmac Rally champion.
There'll be a big trophy.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's very, very prestigious. It's very prestigious.
And okay, so David has asked a question. Will we still have John Emery and his assistant Glenn to entertain us in the evening? I think this is a very important question.
It is a very important question, and Jackie obviously hasn't told David yet that we've nominated David this year to be MC. So he'll have that gig. No, we haven't managed to speak with John as yet, but we are speaking with Glenn Ridge. So we're hoping he'll still come back and MC. At this stage, the dinner for GTR is still a little bit up in the air, working around COVID restrictions and stuff. We're hoping to get that into place, and we will have Glenn with us if it is possible. Yes, so I think Glenn and David will make a good team.
So tell us about what happens of an evening at an event.
So I suppose a rough run through of the event is all of our events are 2 days, over the Saturday and Sunday. We've timed them, so say you run your own business or you are quite time restricted, is that you don't need to take X amount of days off work either side of the event. You can still do half a day on Friday and then get to our events in the Friday afternoon and get all your documentation, scrutineering, etc. done. The Friday night is a compulsory drivers briefing, which everyone obviously must attend, and then we have a tour briefing as well. So most of the people in tour are usually first timers, so there's a lot more questions that we like to focus on them. They run a bit separately to the competition, so we do have a separate time for them to answer whichever questions they have. And then after that, we've thrown a curveball in putting a competitors dinner, which is usually held on the Saturday night, to be held on the Friday night straight after drivers briefing. And so we usually put on a dinner. You know, it's either a roast, veggies, all of that. And it's just a good chance for everyone to have a beer, sit down, catch up. Obviously, this will be a long awaited catch up. It'll probably be outside at the golf club this time because of COVID restrictions. And it's just all our events are very super casual, and Pete made them that way. And that's not something we
don't want to change that. No, we want it to be fun.
So, you know, you have a couple of beers, get around and talk to people, and then our mentality is the Saturday night used to be the competitors dinner, but again, because of COVID times, we wouldn't mind people going out into these country towns that we're going to, you know, make a booking of 10 or 12 people and go out and spend the money in town, wear all your ATR merch so people can see us out and about in that town. Then they won't get cranky for us shutting their roads, because they can see, you know, we are visiting these country towns, especially the ones that we go to. You know, have been heavily impacted and do rely on tourism. So
yeah, nice to take the opportunity to share some of the good times around. Definitely.
Yeah, so I suppose like after the Friday night, you know, dinner's usually at 7, so we're usually wrapped up by 8:39. Get back, study your notes. There's no crazy early mornings at our events. It's usually an 8:30, 9 o'clock start. You'll go out for usually, you know, 5 to 6 stages before lunchtime, come back for lunch, another 5 to 6 stages after lunch. It's usually done by 3, 4 o'clock, enough to, you know, if you need to do check your tire pressures, whatever you may need to do. Saturday night, good thing is we are usually in small country towns, so you're guaranteed to run into other people, have dinner, have some drinks. Sunday night's pretty much the same. Sunday is usually the same. 8:30, 9 o'clock start, lunch, and then we usually finish about 3 o'clock. and then do a trophy presentation with enough time that if you need to get back home on the Sunday night, that you can to go to work on the Monday. If not, you can stay the Sunday. We usually have, well, an ATR bar where you can tell all your stories and all that sort of stuff.
Kick back and have some fun.
Yeah,
enjoy
so
yourself.
that's pretty much the rough overview of an event, really.
That sounds fantastic. So for us, I'm starting to feel jealous. So for us, New South Wales, what is it? What are we? New South Welshmans?
Welsh. Yep.
Any chance of you bringing your events to New South Wales in the future?
Well, I did see a couple of those questions pop up down the road. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Shane. Look, we would love to, definitely. That's high on our radar. New South Wales, I think, just from past experience, has proven to be a bit of a tough nut to crack. But
We're trying.
we are certainly very keen to get into New South Wales. I think that would be fantastic. There's some fantastic areas, some fantastic roads, and we will keep plugging away to get one there as soon as we can. And if it happened to be the first, as in the first female-owned anyway, Tarmac Rally company to have one in New South Wales, we would be very delighted. So it would be great. It would be great. So every possibility that we can look at, we are. And as I said, it's certainly high on our list to want to grow events, bring in new events, and definitely New South Wales would be something we'll be tackling, definitely.
Fantastic. Now, so for first timers, you mentioned on the Friday night that you do the documentation and scrutineering. What's involved in scrutineering? What are you looking for in the cars? Is it, obviously it probably changes for like the different categories. So are you able to run us through what's covered there?
Yeah, the way we work it, a tour itself is usually the first timers group. We like to encourage people to come through tour if they can before stepping into full comp. We like to know their experience and they've got a bit of an idea of what a rally type situation is like. So for tour, it's quite simple. It's usually just a road registered car with road legal tyres, in good nick, well presented. Obviously, you're doing all the right things, and the licenses are in place for the driver and the NAV. So that's all fine. Safety check is just really making sure that the car does look like it's in good nick and being able to check registration papers and things like that. So tour's quite an easy safety check just to make sure everything's looking all right from that perspective. So then we move into our speed limited categories and into full comp. So once again, it's still classed as a safety check. So we have our tech regs available on the website. And we also try really hard to work with people so that if there are any questions that need to be answered, we've got that worked out before you're fronting up on the day to the safety check. So we try and make sure that everyone's feeling comfortable about their car before they get to us. But it's really a safety check. So it's working within those regs. So once again, that's a little bit ambiguous, but because the regs are different depending on the category and depending on the age of the car, a classic will be slightly different to how a modern all-wheel drive is treated. But there are the regs available on the website. They're usually the best place to start. And then if anything comes up that's a little bit out the ordinary, or if anyone's got a question, of course, they're best just to come to us. So yeah, it's a little bit, as I said, it's a bit general, but it's hard to get completely into the safety check side. It's really just depending on category, depending on license, depending on the car itself. Yeah.
So do you need a fire extinguisher in the cars?
You do for full comp, yes.
The full comp,
yes.
Yeah. And roll cages, obviously, can they be bolt-in or do they need to be welded in?
It's welded for full cage as far as I'm aware, but I am happy to check that. We do tend to try and go for welded in where possible, and meeting with all your signed off paperwork that obviously it's met the standards that need to be met. So we do allow half cage in our speed limited rally challenge, which is almost the same scenario as full comp, apart from the fact that you are limited in the speed, the top speed that you can achieve. So that takes it back a little bit. So we allow a half cage there. So half cage can be bolt in, but for the full cage, usually as long as it's meeting the standards, the paperwork is there, and the vehicle passport is also there, which is issued by AASA, that it's meeting the requirements to be safe. We want to keep everybody safe, obviously. Then usually there's probably people jumping up and down checking the tech regs now, but I would say usually, you know, we would prefer to have the welded in full cage. Yes.
Yeah. And so do you accept or recognise Motorsport Australia licences, or does it need to be AASA licence?
We run under AASA. AASA is our sanctioning body and our insurer. So whilst we take into account the fact that people have experience from competing in rallies that are run under what I still call CAMs, old fashioned, I still call it CAMs, we do need to have AASA licenses for the driver and the co-driver, and we do need that vehicle passport signed off for AASA to run in ours, yes.
Okay, so going back to the tour category, what's the minimum age? Do they have to have their full license, or like somebody in their Ps enter touring, or any of the stages? What's the minimum age that somebody can start doing Tarmac Rally?
Okay, would you want me to go for this one? Yeah, okay, sorry.
She's more
I feel like I'm doing all the talking, that's all. But yeah, so it is obviously a full license. When I say that, I mean that you can't be working on anything under what would be a road license, a civil license as such. So 18, we will accept P-platers, but we will also look to see if there has been any past experience at all. And we'll also, it's not a case of wanting people to come forward with information so we can penalise them. But if we know that it's a youngster coming in and we want to encourage them through, we're going to make sure that the tour leaders are aware that they can just keep an eye out, they can advise, they can look after anyone, really, I suppose, any age that's coming through that's maybe a bit limited in experience. So it's certainly open to 18s and over with the civil license, yeah.
Great. And can any kind of car enter as long as it's road registered?
Yes and no. Obviously, we want to keep some sort of integrity within the event. We don't want, you know, your SR5 Hilux out there. But
although it has been done before.
It has been done before. But we think at the end of the day, there's a time and place for certain vehicles. You can enter any car, but obviously we have to approve every entry that comes through. So if we just think that it's not in the best light of the event for a car to enter, we're more than happy to work with you in case you've got another car in the shed that might be more appropriate. But you know, 90% of the cars we will probably accept within reason. And again, at the end of the day, you know, we do close roads for a reason. It is a tarmac rally. You know, there are cars. I wouldn't want to be sitting in a Hilux going around bends because I know you'd probably get quite car sick. So, you know, it's one of those things. If people want to enter a car, they can speak to us, but within reason, we'll accept them or come up with a better alternative.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's great. And Oliver's just asked a good timely question in regards to car modifications. What's your philosophy on that? And would you prefer to keep things reasonably restricted, or are you more flexible with car builds?
I suppose the perk of what we have is, you know, at the end of the day, we do decide the cars, and AASA are very comfortable with me and Pam deciding on things. We are the only tarmac rally that they insure and are the governing body. So we sort of set the standard. If someone else was to come along, everything sort of has to get run by us, I suppose. We do try and have a category for every car possible. We've got modern, we've got classic, there's the tour. We also have a thing called our super rally, which some people may also know as demonstration. So it's a car that doesn't fit within the regulations, but we're able, within reason, to allow that car to enter the event and still showing the overall results. So if someone wanted to bring a Porsche Carrera Cup car or an Australian GT car that does have other modifications that don't fall within the regs, we have a category for that. So obviously as demonstration, other cars will run and they won't show in the results or the overall timing. Ours will fall within that class.
We are a category.
And it creates their own category. And it has been proven in the past, it's becoming quite popular. People are now building track cars to become track and tarmac cars. People want to get more hours in their car, want to get more practice. And we've got that ability that if someone does want to bring a cup car or Australian GT car, ex supercar, they're able to bring that and still be competitive within the field.
Excellent, fantastic. Yeah. So then moving on to the target time category, which is your next step up from tour. So this is, you know, the regularity based category, which, yeah, that sounds very challenging. So who sets the time? Is that a time set by yourselves that everyone has to hit, or does each driver nominate a time? How does that work?
No, so how it actually works, it's a really good comp that allows people to sort of stick their toe in the water. So it's still a competition category. It will allow you to experience it as what it's like to be challenging and working with times, working with distances, working with average speeds as well. So being target time, we set the time. So we're working on what we consider to be an average time across the stage from start, obviously, to flying finish. You can't exceed the speed of 130 kilometres an hour and you can't go below 30 kilometres an hour. So the challenge there is that if you find you're going a little bit too quick and you've only got 1.5 km to go before the end of stage, you can't stop. You can't park it up, you can't slow to under 30. So the challenge is really, especially for the nav, to work on how to average out that speed across the stage and to try and achieve as close to that target time as possible. So that's actually something that we've set. So shakedown being first stage on the Saturday morning, we don't do a set time for that. That's just for everyone to more or less find their feet and their wheels. And after that, we'll work for the times. And over the course of the weekend, it actually becomes progressively a little bit more challenging to meet those times as everyone settles into the weekend and settles into the roads and their car too. So, yeah. So if anyone's got a problem, they have to come back to us because it's all on us. We set the time.
Yeah, so it's another job of the navigator. They're there with their Casio calculator.
Oh, God, they are very busy. They are very, I've done it and I was not very good at it, let me tell you.
Does it only get completed once throughout the weekend?
Sorry, Rochelle?
Does each stage only get completed once throughout the weekend?
We run, I seem to be doing all the talking. We do run reverse stages. So especially if you take GTR, for example, we're Marysville out to Reefton on the Saturday. So we will run reverse stages, and there is, I think in that there are 2 repeat stages. So we do use the same stretches of road. It is very lovely, challenging road. So I don't think anyone's ever found that to be a problem. And then in this example, we move out over towards Eildon on the Sunday. So once again, it's a different road that we're using on the Sunday. So we are trying to keep some variety there, and it's also the opportunity to run those reverse stages too, and a repeat stage or 2 to be able to see how you go with that if you master it any better the second time round.
Right, so once you've nailed the target category, and then you move up to the rally challenge category. So this is still speed limited, this category?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is still speed limited to that 130. There is a bit more of car modification required. You do need to build a half roll cage into your car, but you do not have to average a certain speed. So it's that step up sort of. So what it is the pyramid scheme really. As you started tour, you get the feel of the car. You can go up to target time. You start to get that little bit faster. You can start introducing notes, how to read the rally safe device, And then the next one is you can go up to Rally Challenge, which there is no average speed. It's the half roll cage. You've got to try and learn to do everything at once, reading notes, listening to the notes. The Rally Safe, we've got virtual chicanes that will come up on the Rally Safe. And so it's just sort of that step-by-step progress to get you up to full competition if that's what you desire, rather than, you know, a lot of people think Tarmac Rally is, I've got to go straight into full competition. I don't have, you know, I don't have the latest Porsche, or I have to spend this amount on my car to get it up to that. It's not that case. Is that we've got step-by-step, there's certain categories, classes for all different cars, and you compete within your own group. So yeah, I suppose Rally Challenge, I can't remember what it was named. We did rename it. And then, yeah.
We went with the fact that challenge sounds like exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's that opportunity to get in there and try it and see what it's like. The limitation is that, or I should say the only limitation really, is that speed that you are looking at not being able to exceed 130. But then, like any good tarmac rally, the roads that you choose to run your stages on are usually that twisty and windy that you're hard pressed to find many sections to go over 130 anyway. So it's a really good way, as Brittany said, to be able to not have to completely modify the car, but get to experience what it's like to be a bit closer to the idea of full competition.
Yeah, that's great. Now, you've mentioned notes a couple of times, and there's a couple of comments here about notes, and a question came through that was tricks to learning stage notes. So before we get to the tricks, can you tell us a bit more about the notes and how they work, and yeah, how do you start to learn them and understand them?
So I suppose what we provide as event organisers is what we call a road book, which will show you how to get to the stage. It'll show you, you know, the roundabout here, there's the post office, this is how you proceed to the start of the stage, which is basically, you know, a lot of tour people use the road book because they're going at a speed that you can project the road coming forward. When you get to a certain speed, obviously the corners come a lot quicker, and that's when a third party, we don't provide stage notes, they have to come through a third party. We usually use Smoothline, which most people will know, Bernie Webb. And that is the more in detail, that's every corner, every crest, where there's a danger, what that corner looks like coming up. And so when they are going at that speed, is they know what's coming, you know, 2-3 corners ahead of them, and they can project where they need to be on the road, all that sort of stuff. So I suppose tips is probably Pam question.
Oh yes, as Brittany said, running the event means that we provide the road book. So we'll call basic cautions in our road book. We'll give you a basic idea of the stage as such. So any dangers to look out for, any cautions that you want your nav or co-driver to be calling for you, but it's not completely detailed. So it is really a road book. So as Brittany was saying, if you use a third party provider, as she said, we work with Bernie, the stage notes are detailed for each stage. So they will take you from that stop, from the stage start all the way through to the flying finish and then the stop. So they will call and show the corners, they'll show cautions, they'll let you know distances as well between certainly one sort of corner to the next. And it's a weird and wonderful, Mark Clare's just showing a very good example for us. Thanks, Mark, who's been helping us out too. He's been absolutely fantastic. The stage notes themselves, I always think it's worth being able to just get an example of someone like Bernie, have a look at them, work with them. Most navs will make their own little notes as well when they're out doing recce. You'll put your own little things in there too, but they are a world unto themselves, the actual stage notes. So, and anyone that is interested, and this is not a sell, but anyone that is interested and would like to speak with Bernie from Smoothline stage notes, he will also show tutorials. He'll also point people in the right direction. If he can help in any way, he will, because it very much is that sort of next level to be able to read the stage notes. Yeah. And
so do you purchase those prior to the event, or do you not get them till the day? How does that work? How much notice do you get with your stage notes?
Yeah, I think with Bernie, it really comes down to, because we don't actually provide those, it's working directly with Bernie, that anyone can feel free to contact him or another provider, work out how they get the stage notes. Bernie does do our events for us, so it is easy to pick up notes for our events. That's no worries. Some people will have them hopefully arrive in time to maybe have a look at stages the day before, the day of documentation, or even a day before that. They might get to go out and have a little bit of a look. But really, I think it's more a case of, once the stage notes arrive, that's a little bit out of our hands. We provide the road book at documentation. Once the stage notes arrive, then it's really up to the competitor to work with once they arrive at event.
Great. And what kind of tyres are people running? Are they running semi-slicks? Are they more running, or is it, on tour, are they just running a standard or high performance road tyre, and then they move up to a semi-slick? What kind of tyres are people using?
I think I've got this one, Britt. They're usually round ones. And I could be wrong, but I think they've usually got rubber on them as well.
And they're black.
Don't quote me. Quote me. Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% on that, but I think they are. Look, that would be something that, obviously people are running tyres. Of course they are. Most of the road cars that come along to tour will run just a basic road tyre. You can take that up a small notch if you want to. There are some that are available out there that are sort of not quite a semi-slick, but basically you're working with something that will be successful for tour and will have you hanging on the road. Once you start stepping up to comp, I would be loath to even suggest that I know what people use or what they should use, but certainly if anyone had any questions and they came to us, I would be, if it's not outlined in the regs, which I don't think it is, because once again, we don't direct what people need to be putting on as far as tyres goes. But if they came to us with any suggestions or they came to us with any questions, we've actually got a very good group behind us that help us out tremendously with anything to do with the technical side. So rather than tell anyone a load of rubbish, I would make sure that we went and got the correct information and passed that back on to the competitor.
I suppose a lot of those car questions come back to what works for your car. Is you need to work out, it all depends on the car. Yeah. You need to go out and trial and test. We've got very limited restrictions on what you can and can't do. There's no certain tyre numbers that you can bring. I mean, if you can bring 20 tyres, good on you. There's no restrictions on that sort of stuff. So it's just a lot of trial and tribulation on what works for your car in certain road conditions, weather conditions, how hard do you brake? How hard do you go into corners? All that sort of thing.
Yeah. I'm sure my husband's sitting behind the scenes, probably having a heart attack going, what on earth are you saying? So as I said, feel free, bamboozle us with questions, email them through and we'll make sure we get you the correct answer.
That's fine. In terms of spares for those round black things that go under the cars, a recommendation on, on the number of spares that you bring, things like that?
No, I suppose it's the same as the question of, what spare parts do you bring for your car? It's what you think your car will need, what you think your car will fail. We don't have what a lot of people call park for May. So if you get back at 3 o'clock and you need to rebuild your engine, as long as you're at the start line the next day, there's no restrictions. We've had people fly up parts in a helicopter to Marysville from Melbourne. I mean, people will do anything that they can to get their car on the road the next day. So in terms of tyres, all of that, there's not many restrictions on, if you know that you go through a fair bit of brakes. If you do a track day and you work out you go through a fair bit of brakes, well, I'd probably recommend bring some brakes, because a lot of our stages you go uphill, but then you've always got to come downhill. So
it's very tight and twisty as well.
Yeah, it's sort of again just what works for your car. You need to start learning your car, and you bring what you think might break.
Bring what you need.
Be over prepared is always a good thing.
That's yes.
Right. So shifting the conversation a little bit now to officials. Obviously events, can't run with the awesome work of all of our officials. So what kind of roles do officials play at Tarmac Rally events?
Very important ones.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, without them, we wouldn't be able to run events.
No,
I know a lot of people do say that, but especially when you're running on public roads, having to shut public roads and deal with the public, it's a very unique situation. We've got, you know, everyone that works behind with us are officials and volunteers. Yeah. Even just the day-to-day things, and so without them, it wouldn't happen. I mean, me and Pam can run ourselves into the ground as much as possible, but we probably wouldn't be the nicest people on an event once we got there. So without them, you know, we've even got a clerk of course who has done mountain motorsport events before. He's now signed on to become our official clerk of course. So every event, he'll be that same person. The faces become familiar. We now have our official competitors relationship officer, who a lot of people would know, Mel Cook, who helped Peter and Ursula on the admin side. So she's come on as our official, what we call crow. So on an event, if there's any issues with timing, etc., you deal straight with Mel and she'll hopefully sort it out. Our clerk, of course, you'll meet at the driver's briefing, and hopefully that's the last time you see him, because if you do hear from him, it means you've been not very
potentially
good.
naughty.
Yeah.
And then all the way through to we've had a fantastic response calling for daily officials to come and help us with GTR, so in Marysville as well. And we've had a really great amount of people from all different backgrounds and all different experience in motorsport sort of put their hand up and say, we'll come along. And we don't really have one job that we consider better or more important than the next, because we really need things like our road closures to be manned correctly. We need our SOS points to be manned correctly. We need our starts, obviously, to work smoothly. So we've also got our stewards running in the background and our course checkers and our own sort of setup crew that help us out too. So we've got lots of jobs that at the end of the day are really important to make sure that everybody gets to run those stages and have fun, because we couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, definitely. And so how you place for officials for GTR needs
just saw Pete pop up at the bottom of the screen. Yep, and he said, and do we need more?
We always need more.
Yes, Pete, the answer is of course. So just either drop us an email directly, which is perfectly great, or we will catch up with you. If you go through our website, you can sign up as an official through the website, and obviously that notifies us that someone has subscribed and wants to be an official, and we can then make contact. So yes. I think it would be really good, just taking it a step back to GTR, particularly where we run, running alongside Parks Victoria land. There's a lot of tracks. We need a lot of road closures manned. We need a lot of SOS points. We need a lot of things happening to keep the competitors and the general public safe as well. So we do need a lot for this event. So any help is very much appreciated.
Wonderful. Well, we've got Jackie who's joining us tonight, who's coming to officiate with you. So I guess she just needs to come prepared to, you know, be out obviously in the weather all day to make sure she's got appropriate footwear and clothing for all seasons pretty much. Any other tips for her?
Yes. Yeah, I'm saying yes, but no, that actually sounds really good. So we will do our best to work with Jackie and with our other officials to make sure that they've got everything that they need. But yes, comfortable footwear. It can be a long day, so appropriate UV protection, a jacket as well, just those things that help you in all sorts of weather. And then if there's anything specific, obviously along the lines of radios that we provide, lunches are provided, things like that, you know, we'll work with the officials and get them what they need for the particular job that they're doing.
Great. Now, Shane has asked a question in regards to fuel, and obviously it's going to vary for each car, but is there a way or somewhere that he could go to ask or to find out like an average fuel use for cars, or fuel transportation? He's got particularly E85.
Yeah, well, we do allow E85, which is one of the great things about our group is we allow cars to run with E85, which is fantastic. knowing what we have in and around Marysville, which is generally where most people are based for the event. Buxton's got 2 fuel stations out that way. You'd probably want to be bringing a supply, especially for E85, you'd want to be bringing your own supply with you. Hence, you'd probably want a service crew, or you may want your own trailer, that sort of stuff. So you've got that as a backup. And once again, as far as how much you would use, depends on the car. So I know Martin Clare's with us tonight, and I know he's put forward how much some of the thirsty cars that are up the pointy end of the field can drink. So it really comes down to if we are able to provide the course maps and give an idea of the length of the stages. We also provide time at morning tea and at lunchtime for people to be able to service their cars. Refueling must be done very safely, and we outline how that must be done as well. But people do have the opportunity to refuel as the day goes on as part of the servicing at the service park. So it's a little bit like how long's a piece of string, because it really depends on your car. But certainly given where we are, I really think people need to be, whether it's this event, it's Bor, it's moving into our others next year, you really have to be conscious of your fuel, and it's really good to have a fuel supply somewhere not too far away. So if that involves jerry cans, if that involves being able to pop back to where you're staying in Marysville at lunchtime and fill the car back up again, whatever it might be. But yeah, it's a hard one to call because each car will work slightly differently in how much fuel they use.
Definitely. So do all the cars need to be rally regioed or road registered? Can you use an unregistered car and tow it between stages?
So there's sort of 3 types that we run under, is obviously road registered vehicles, which a lot of the tour cars are. A lot of people just drive their tour cars to the event, drive them through the stages, drive them home. We also do have rally reg available.
Product placement.
For cars, and we do allow through Vic Roads to get what we call a UVP, which is an unregistered vehicle permit. You can drive that car to the event if you put that on your permit as the date, but a lot of the competition cars will come on a trailer, just because you never know what's going to happen, and you don't want that to be your only transport home. So
yeah, so we do run with UVPs, and we do allow people obviously to trailer their cars to the event too. But the good thing with the event is there's not a lot of transport time in between. The stages do generally follow one another back to back. So once you start the day, whether you're on your rally reg or your UVP, you're pretty well covered to be able to run. So there's no need to, in between stages, look at having to put the car on a trailer and move it along or anything like that. You're covered under your UVP. And there's very little transport stages at our events, so it's fine.
Okay. So can driver and co-driver swap between stages, or is it once you're a driver for that event, that's it?
We just say not on stage. Yeah. So in the middle of a stage, they can't
not
swap.
halfway.
No, they can't swap. No.
With the tour, that's quite simple, because you only need to get your Tarmac Rally license through AASA. So that's just one license for the tour car, and you're able to switch. Whereas when you get up to full competition, there's a Tarmac Rally navigator license or a driver license. So obviously there's certain things that you need to maintain and require to get a Tarmac Rally driver and navigator license going into full competition, whether that be, certain track days, certain experience before they'll allow you to go straight into a full competition license. In saying that, there are a lot of people, so the difference between a co-driver and a navigator obviously is quite different. So co-driver is able to sit in the navigator seat as well as be able to get into the driver's seat when needed, where a navigator can only sit in the navigator seat. So it's all around with full competition, depending on what license that you do hold through AASA. But with our tour, it's just a generic Tarmac Rally license. That way you can bring along your wife or your mate, and you can drive, I'll drive the morning, you drive the afternoon, or we'll switch between stages. I really liked this one, I'll drive this one. So again, it's all very depending on what competition that you're in. But yeah, there are quite a few people that, especially in the tour, that switch, because it then just becomes a very social part of the event. You get to drive, you get to sit in the seat and try and learn notes, or at least try and read the rally safe. And then, yeah, obviously competition, you're going a lot faster speeds and it becomes a lot more serious. So, yeah.
Okay, great. So you can't, so not between stages. The navigator can't say to the driver, "You're doing crap, get out, I'm going to have a go."
Yeah.
You have to wait till you get to the end, then you can kick it out.
You can have a go. All right, now Gary has raised his hand. Gary, did you want to ask a question? No? All right. And a question from Michelle, tour cars, do they have to run rally safe?
Yes.
Yes, they do. They will just, unlike competition cars will need to pre-purchase a fitting kit from Rally Safe. Obviously, it's a bit more high tech with the fitting kit. Pam can probably elaborate on that. But with the tour cars, they just plug into your cigarette lighter in the car. It's a suction cap. Probably some of you are asking, what is a Rally Safe device? It's a satellite tracking system that HQ pretty much has eyes on you all the time. So it can track your speed, it can track where you are, it can track how many G-forces you hit a tree at.
Yeah, don't do that, people. Don't do that.
If you were to go off, or the car in front of you was to go off, it'll notify you to say that the car in front of you has gone off and in what distance. So it will say, slow down, there's a car off in 100 meters. They will then notify you. Our protocol with Rally Safe, if the car in front of you has gone off, you would need to stop and check that they're okay. If they're okay, then you can proceed to the next SOS point. If those people aren't okay, once they have gone off the road, it will come off on their Rally Safe that if they need ambulance, if they need fire, SOS, or if they're okay and they just need recovery to pull out. So it's a very amazing system that we unfortunately rely heavy on, but it gives us the ability to oversee the whole event from one spot and have faith in the people that are out there. And, for the safety of it, we can deploy things within seconds of things happening. We don't need to wait, old school phones, radios, faxes. Within seconds, that there'll be ambulance, fire, whatever is required, even if it's towing and recovery, MIV will be there, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it will track where you are. It gives us timing and results.
Yep.
It's pretty much the eyes and ears of the event. And if you're in trouble, we're going to know quicker than you probably will know. Yeah.
Just also with what Brittany was saying too, and I saw Mark pop up in the corner too, a lot of cars, modern cars these days, don't have your old cigarette lighter anymore. So there is an OBD2 spot that they can be accessed to. So basically it just means you're not having to hardwire or drill holes in your tour car to be able to run your rally safe. So the unit is just slightly different for tour cars.
And is that also what's used for you to determine? I know Donald Trump has joined us. How lucky are we? We're so popular.
Well, he's not doing anything else at the moment, is he? So it's fine.
I know who that is.
He's playing the waiting game. He's joining, a very... So is it really safe that's used to determine if, if in those speed restricted categories, if you go over, is that what you also use that for?
Yeah. So they're very much the eyes and ears, and they report back to the clerk, of course, and Richard will come and have a little bit of a chat, or we'll report to one of us to come and have a little bit of a chat. So if it's a small ping in speed limited where you've just gone over the 130 and it has been a bit of an accident, in as much as it's noted that you have backed off as soon as you've realised, you'll usually be okay. Maybe a couple of times that you might need a warning. If it's excessive and it's constant, then you'll look, unfortunately, at being excluded from the event, because the main thing is we're just trying to keep everybody safe. So we have the regulations around the fact, and we use devices like Rally Safe just to be able to keep everybody as safe as possible.
Yeah, and so Shane just asked about accident support. So that is, there's obviously ambulances there ready to be deployed.
Yeah, so one thing that we focused heavily on the past 6 months is getting all the right event support in place, making sure the right people are there in the case of an accident. So the past 2 months, we've spent a lot of time on focusing on that, getting new people, getting experienced people, getting the right equipment that's available at the events if something was to happen. So we provide, we've got MIV out there, we've now got double what used to be in terms of ambulance. So there'll be, 2 or 4 out there at one time, and traveling at the front and the back of the field. So depending on where the incident is can get deployed quicker.
Yeah.
We've also got recovery. If obviously your car was unfortunately to come off, we'll be able to get that with a tow vehicle. We don't supply towing, but they are there ready and waiting. We will be able to get the car, off the embankment or out of the trees. If it's in a safe spot, it'll stay there till the end of the day, and we'll proceed for the course. And then, it's
it is actually one thing that we have worked on extensively, just wanting to really make sure that it's safe, because coming into this business, just from a business perspective, it could be terrifying. You don't want to think of people being out there having accidents, but it is the nature of motorsport. So we're just trying to make sure that we've really got our regs in place, and that we're really working with our medical team, and also with the fireys, rescue and recovery team as well, so that they're spot on and we can do the best that we can to keep everyone safe.
Yeah, well, that's great. And another question is, how many competitors would you usually see at an event? Well, I guess
there's a joke in that. If we hide in the hotel room, we don't see any of them.
I suppose we were talking about this before everyone came online, is between Pam and myself, we've come to we've decided that 60 would be a good number for the events, where only a handful off that for GDR, and I think considering the circumstances, that's a pretty good number. I think as of today we're at 50, so we know there's still a few more entries in the works, with a lot of people waiting for the border announcements and the Ring of Steel and Victoria to open up, and thankfully that's working in our favour, with Monday the Ring of Steel opening and New South Wales announcing yesterday that they'll be opening. So I think 60 is a very comfortable number that we're happy to run with, that we can still get to everyone in the field.
There's not a lot of downtime. We've got the opportunity to try and keep things flowing without a lot of hold-ups, and because we do run those reverse stages, you have to be conscious of the fact that you're turning cars around, clearing a stage and starting everyone off on that same stage again. So to make sure that there's not a lot of queuing and a lot of downtime, we're just keeping it around that number. Look, if we got to 70, I don't think we'd say no. As the courses run at the moment, though, I think that's a nice, fair number. And then, as things expand and as they grow, we'll be able to grow numbers as well, which is really exciting. Yeah.
And so does the entry cost for each category change? Is that different, or is it the same for each category?
So it's different for each category. So the way we do it in our side is it's broken up into 3. There's tour, speed limited, competition. So tour as of next year is approximately 1,300, and that's inclusive of your rally safe, that's your participants on every stage, that's your dinner on the one night, the 2 lunches, your road book, all your lanyards, your event ID, your wristband, and merch for both people in the car. So that's pretty much what that covers. And then it goes up from there up till about 2.8 for competition. So obviously the faster you go,
As I always say, in motorsport, the faster you go, the faster you spend money.
Well, that's very true. That's very true. And all the pricing structure is available on the website too. So we're more than happy to help anybody out with that, and explain how that works. And also, if they just want to have a bit of a sticky beak and have a look what's included and what's available, all that's on the website too.
And even at tour stage, it's 2 people in the car, isn't it?
What we've actually done, Rochelle, is we've pushed in our tech regs for tour the fact that we would like to run with 2 people. We prefer to have 2 people in the car. That is optimal for us for the rally safe in the event of an oopsie, whatever it might be. So we do like that, but we are aware too that a lot of people coming along to tour might not have someone else that can come along with them and sit in that passenger seat. So we do run into with just the one person, but ultimately if you have got a mate that would like to come, we prefer 2. So that's how it sits currently.
Okay. Oh, great. And spectator options, I guess it's going to be a bit easier now with COVID restrictions lifting, but what are the options for spectators?
I suppose this is a hard question, and we've had to tackle it, you know, even in the Targa days, is that as much as we love having spectators around, there's a reason why we tell them, one, to go to certain spots, and to sort of, we don't publicize that, you know, hey, come along and watch the cars. The problem that we see is if we tell a group of people to sit in a certain corner and a car accidentally happens to go off there, we're then liable for those people that are sitting there. So that's why we do try and push to, hey, come and look at the cars at the lunch stop when all the cars are parked up. You can have a chat with the drivers. Yep. You know, you can see them working on the cars, but there is a reason why we don't tell people specifically where to sit on the stage when something is happening. It may come across the wrong way, is that, you know, we don't rely on spectators, we don't need them. The truth is we do. It's a very hard thing when you're running on public roads, and a lot of the time you're only running on that road once, maybe twice. So another problem is that road closures can go for up to 6 or 8 hours. Once those people are in that spot, they're there for that 6 or 8 hours. So if you've got little kids, if you've got, you know, it's a lot of dedication to sit there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we do try and push the more, I suppose, public events of the side, is that this is where the start is. You're more than welcome to come along and see them, you know, fang it from the start, or this is where we'll be at lunch. Something that we are working on for next year is to have more of a spectator guide to come out, but obviously at the moment it's us 2. We're trying to change courses and all of that, and so we just sort of want to get through GDR, and then we'll focus on the rest next year and hopefully have all of that ready, you know, 12 months in advance.
Great, because I'm just laughing that we now have Daniel Ricciardo joining us. We're so popular this evening.
I can't do it. You just need to ignore us.
Rochelle, how much are we being paid for this appearance tonight? I mean, there's a lot of famous people tuning in.
We had Lewis Hamilton before.
We're getting paid so much in love. It's amazing. All right, well, that's all the questions that I have. Has anyone got any questions? Feel free to unmute and ask a question if you like, or pop it in the chat. We've answered all the questions that have come through. Oh, here we are. Is it possible to modify a car in such a way that it qualifies for full Regio and meet the requirements for competitive tarmac rallying?
Oh, I like how Brittany's looking at me for that one. Look, I don't see how, I mean, obviously if you've got full rally reg, that would be fine, but usually to meet full spec tarmac rally regs, you need to have your roll cage, your full roll cage, and your seats, harnesses, etc. And so that excludes you from being able to be road registered, unless maybe it's historics, unless maybe it's club plates, unless maybe there's an exemption that way. And I really hope I'm getting that right. And the email is info@tarmacrally.com if I'm getting that wrong, and that way I'll know and I'll be able to come back to everybody properly. But in my mind, you're working with rally reg, and you're working with potentially UVPs if you find that you just haven't been able to renew or get your rally reg in time. So yeah.
Okay. Anyone else got a question? Any of those burning?
Oh, we've got Anton Di Pasquale here as well now too.
Any goss you want to tell us?
Oh, goodness. There's things going on in the background, I tell you. Honestly.
All right. Well, I think that's it.
Hello.
Yes. Hi, Mark.
Oh, hi. Great, great information. Thank you, guys. I have or my wife and I have an MX5 with a full roll cage, unregistered, can't be registered. What documentation would you require for our roll cage when we present it?
Okay, so usually, Mark, and once again, if you'd like to email us, we can make sure we go into proper detail and give you some links to work with too. But usually what we would do with the roll cages, it has its certification. So whoever the person is that has installed it has met with whatever the governing bodies suggest, and it must be certified. That will be included in your vehicle passport that is submitted to AASA, and AASA will then sign off on the fact that you've ticked all the right boxes and you've got your certification in place. And once you have that, then going through our safety check, we can see that everything's in place and everything has been checked off correctly, and we can run from there. So if there's anything that we can help with, if there's anything that I can ask our guys in the background as far as technical questions go, or if there's a way we can point you in the right direction, we certainly will. But usually cars are presenting to us already with that certification and with their vehicle passports.
Thank you much. Thank you very much for the answer. We purchased the car with the suggestion, I guess, from the vendor that the roll cage was CAMS certified, but we didn't actually get any paperwork with it. But I'll go offline and contact you folk and see how we can work that out. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that'd be great, Mark. Terrific. Thank you.
All right, we've got a couple more questions that have come through. It's fine. I don't know if everyone's seeing the chat. What is the typical cutoff time for entries?
Ideally, we'd like to say sort of 2 weeks before the event. I suppose each entry for us does take a good day or two to process, and then there is the admin side of make sure door decals, all of that is printed within time. So why we haven't set a cutoff date is, even I think with GDR, we're getting to the point, I think we're making an announcement next week that there's only 5 or 6 spots left that we can actually take. So while, we're not doing the marketing plug, it's just to the point we're comfortable at running the event as what it is, and we don't want to overexert ourselves. So I'd say comfortably 2 weeks before the event is a good cutoff time.
But you need to know and be able to plan resources.
Yeah, exactly.
As the
That's right. And as everyone knows, this year's just been such a tricky thing. Everyone's just going with the flow. So we're aware that there are a couple of people sitting behind the scenes waiting to get their entry in place once they know that they're able to come. Because obviously it's not just the expense of us, it's also your accommodation, it's also potential flights or transport. So we know there's other costs involved too. So we're just trying to work with everybody to get everyone to GTR as best we can. And then next year hopefully runs like a normal year where entries are opened a few months before, 2 to 3 weeks prior to the event. Entries will close, and we'll make sure we give everyone notice of that coming up, so they've got time to get their entries in, and it will just proceed along like normal motorsport events do. Great.
Question from Peter: what would your advice be to move from tour to competitive categories?
Well, I know this, Peter. I don't think we'll let him.
Just an entry level, not full-blown mods.
I suppose, as we said before, obviously Peter's done a few tours and obviously is feeling, or at least thinking about stepping up to the next level. We'd probably say go to Speed Limited, so that way you are learning the ins and outs of the rally safe going off at the same time as your navigator trying to learn the notes while you're listening to them. And then probably go from there, do 1 or 2 events in there, see how you're feeling. And then our events run fastest to slowest, and then the tour at the back. So if you don't feel comfortable where you've been seated, you're able to move back into sort of where you you think you fit speed wise. So, you know, if you're not comfortable running towards the front of the field with the big guys, there's no reason you can't move back to where you feel a bit more comfortable, and that way you won't be getting overtaken by the fast cars at the back. So there's no intimidation factor.
Wonderful. All right, any last questions for Pam or Brittany? I have to say it's been fantastic to be able to talk to two fellow race chicks about motorsport. I think it's wonderful, and wish you all the best for your event in December. And yeah, hopefully that we'll see some updates, you know, from competitors, yeah, in our group. Hopefully we've got a few competitors in the Race Chicks Networking community group. It'd be great, yeah, to see the event, and to, yeah, look forward to watching, I guess, from New South Wales for your events in Victoria, and hopefully, yeah, you'll be able to come to New South Wales very soon.
Yeah, I think we've probably only, well, I know I personally just have the two things to sort of sign off with, and that is, Rochelle, I can't wait to get up and do one of your circuit days as well that I've seen. That looks absolutely fantastic. So that'd be great, wanting to get up and do that. And also, once again, it's a format where we don't necessarily get to answer everything. So if anyone has questions, the one thing we really want to do is just make sure we communicate as best we can with everybody. And as I said, if there's something we don't know, we'll go and find out, we'll go and ask. So feel free just to give us a buzz or send us an email. So all the details are on the website too, which is australiantarmacrally.com, and we can sort of go from there.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. And remember, everyone is free to join us in 3 weeks' time for our next live Q&A, which is Media for Motorsport with Philippa Guana, who's a media master coach, and we'll be talking about everything you need to know, or how to master media specifically for motorsport. Yeah, including, well, hopefully never have to avoid a media crisis, how to approach interviews, getting the right mindset and habits for sport media, and how athletes can win fans and sponsors through media, and foundations of social media content planning. So everyone, including the fellas, are definitely welcome to join us for that as well. So thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. It's been wonderful. I've loved I've loved all our special guests that have joined us tonight. It's been wonderful. And hopefully we'll see everyone soon. All right, enjoy the rest of the evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.